Do you want to be a real man? Yes! Do you want to be more manlier than those weak bitch men that uses assault rifles like a coward? Yes! Fear not, because we, for you gentlemen, have the good old Gage Weapon Pack number 2, a pack that was designed for men. Men like me that want to become more manlier than the bitch weak men. We don't use those weak ass 30 round magazine assault rifles, SMGs. We are way manlier than that, and that's why we bust our nuts to use a incredible weapon that Gage has provided us. Alright, enough fucking around. Welcome to another complete clown fiasco that is Payday 2. Let's leave the younger sibling alone for a little bit and go with the middle child, that being Payday 2. So, we are talking about the Gage Weapon Pack number 2, as always. It is another old pack that was released in January 30th, 2014. Good fucking lord, I feel old. Anyway, so, what does this pack even introduce us exactly? Well, this time, Gage decided to be a fucking complete Chad and decided to say, fuck it, I'm gonna give these guys a bigger firepower, because instead of giving us like basic bitch assault rifles, he decided to give us the most manliest fucking weapons known to human history. Those are being LMGs. So, we have 3 LMGs, we have 4 new masks, and 4 melee weapons that are completely fucking useless. But let's talk about the weapons. That's where the most interesting part comes in. So, the 3 LMGs that are mentioned are the RPK, the KSP, aka the M249, and then the Brenner 21, which is the Heckler and... Heckler and Koch? Cock?
Oh, that's... Brilliant!
Fuck you, no. It's a Heckler and... cunt weapon, I guess. I don't know. Something. Anyway, let's talk about the RPK first. Basically, the RPK is a Kalashnikov, big bullet, retard chin. The RPK is a very simple and a very powerful RPK, even though it has a very retarded fucking jawline that makes the crimson chin look like a goddamn normal human being, but let's not talk about appearances. The RPK is a very simple, powerful LMG that has the capability of dealing high amounts of damage with a high rate of fire. The RPK, the statistics are very good. It has a total magazine of 100, 300 total ammo in reserve, 750 rate of fire, 120 base damage, accuracy of 28, stability of 8, and a concealment of 5. And then the reload speed is pretty good. Oh, you don't need to really worry about it. But the only issue is if you're someone that is like from outside of these regions, like if you're someone from these regions, this LMG can be somewhat difficult to use. But if you're someone like me that's from the Balkans, or you're from the eastern part of Europe, then you don't have any issues wielding this fucking weapon, because we were born with handling this fucking bitch to begin with. The RPK is one of the more better LMGs than the other ones in the game, because because of its higher damage and higher rate of fire, it does have the capability of causing sheer amounts of damage and able to literally rip bulldozers apart to make them unfucking recognizable. It is a very simple LMG that has no complaints. Well, the only issue is if you're a bitch and then, well, the stability can be somewhat hard to control, if you're a bitch, of course. But if you're a man like me that has the testosterone of a fucking Chad, you don't need to really worry about handling this baby, because we can practically one-hand this bitch. And when it comes to the sounds, it's crispy. Ooh, it's so crispy. It's nice. I love it. And the modifications you have available for this are good. You have your typical muzzle attachments. You can change in the grip of the weapon. You can change the hand grip or the stock, and etc, etc. There are a lot of modifications that you can add to this weapon that can change the weapon in one way or another. Make this weapon extremely accurate or make it controllable, as however you want it to be, of course. The next weapon we have on the list is the oh Jesus, the fucking American M249. No, I'm not okay, so hear me out. I don't like American weapons. No, I don't like 1911s. I don't like any other American weapons. And the M249 is ugly as shit. I'm sorry, but for some of you Americans that love their M249s, I'm sorry, but this fucking thing is just hideous. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's just my monkey brain that is like in love with the Russian weapons, but the M249 is just hideous. But look is not what defines the weapon. It's their stats that sort of tells us how it is. So the LMG, the M249, is a very powerful LMG that is basically better than the KSP-58, aka the beginner's LMG. Well, it's not exactly a beginner, but it's a free LMG that everyone has, and it's basically that, but it's basically better, to say at least. So, what is the difference? The KSP has 200 bullets in the magazine, and a 400 total ammo in reserve, 909 rate of fire, a damage of 80, accuracy 48, stability of 28, and a concealment of 1. And then the reload speed is solid and it's controllable, to say at least. The weapon itself is pretty good. Because of the lower damage, you're gonna have to sort of take a little bit of extra effort to kill someone, but that's not going to be the case because of the weapon's higher fire rate. And sure, despite the weapon having higher stability than the other LMGs in this pack, it is actually somewhat harder to control because it has a faster fire rate, meaning bullets come out quicker, and that means you have to control this fucking bitch far more. And I'm not American, so I don't know how the fuck this thing even works, so I just grab it and shoot it out of my mind. I don't know how this thing even works to begin with. But enough of fucking around. The LMG is actually pretty good. It's one of the more common weapons you see on Destiny's difficulty. Is it good? Yeah, it is pretty good. It does take a little bit of a while to kill a bulldozer, unlike the RPK, but it does get the job done essentially here and there. There are some modifications with this weapon you can change in. Of course, you have your typical muzzles, flashlights, and lasers, and you can also change the stock in some way or another. You can also change like the front grip of the weapon, to say at least. It doesn't really change much, but it just adds bonus damage in exchange for reducing, I think it was either accuracy reduce or stability reduce, I'm not really entirely sure. And the reload and the animations of this baby is pretty good. It's crunchy, it's nice, it's satisfying to listen to, and it's basically music to my fucking ears. Now, let's talk about the other one that is a really good LMG, that I feel like a lot of people should be using it more. So, the Brenner 21, it's a... You know what, I'm not gonna say the fucking name anymore, screw you. The Brenner 21 is a high damage LMG, but with a slightly lower rate of fire than the RPK. It has a magazine size of 150, 300 bullets in the reserve, 723 rate of fire, damage of 120, accuracy of 36, and a stability of 8. And then the reload speed is a little bit clunkier than the rest, but it's not really that much big of a deal. But what is exactly different with this weapon? Unlike the RPK, where it has a 100 round magazine, this one has 150. Combine that with lock and load, Surefire Basic, you are able to have 175 round in the magazine. This basically allows you to kill multiple enemies with just one simple magazine, and because the weapon has a slower rate of fire, it is more controllable than the rest of them. It is way more controllable than the rest, and is far more accurate because of its slower rate of fire and easier recoil. Despite the stability being complete horrid, you can actually control this weapon extremely easily. It is very useful, it is very good, except against bulldozers it can be a little bit tough to kill because of its slightly lower rate of fire, but this is a fucking LMG, it doesn't really matter at this point because you can kill them in such an easy way. The modifications you have is you can put a short ass barrel, you can change in the grip and etc. So there's really not much modifications with these LMGs because like there's no aiming system with these. Keep in mind, this is early Payday 2 we're talking about. For some reason, the overkill is like, yeah, let's not make the heisters not aim down the sights. Let's just make them... It's like, whenever you try to aim, it's like... The heisters just put the weapon slightly closer to their face. They don't even actually try to like aim down the sights. It's just... It's weird. But what are my overall thoughts of... Oh wait, let me talk about the animations. I forgot about it. Oops. So... This is probably one of the weaker ones, honestly. The sound is not entirely satisfying when it comes to reloading the weapon. It sounds weak. It sounds effortless, to say at least. But the shooting sound is very good. Like, it's so good. Like, it actually genuinely feels like you're shooting a gun and not like a fucking BB gun. But hey, I'm not gonna question it. But the weapon is pretty good. The sound is debatable, to say at least. But other than that, the weapon is pretty good. So let's talk about the 4 masks you have. Unlike the other packs I actually mentioned previously, they were all complete horrid, but these ones are actually pretty good. You got the Alpha Force, you got the Commander Crime, the Gage Blade, and the Troubled War Veteran. So, what are my thoughts on all these masks? The Commander Crime is completely horrid. Troubled Veteran is just basically Rambo. Alpha Force is the helmet that I think Murkywater uses, and the Gage Blade is, well, your typical edgy mask. They're all pretty good, except for the Commander Crime, which is very horrid. I think my personal favorite mask out of these is the Alpha Force. They all actually look pretty good, and you could actually use these in one way or another, and they're pretty good. Like visually, they look really nice. I can see people wearing these. You also get a couple of materials, which are just basically like war theme type. You have your typical camos, like a green camo, Arctic camo type, but you also get some patterns that are like focused on like those. You know, like those like old war movies where the characters just like pours like mud on their faces to indicate that they're like a warrior and shit? Yeah, that's what basically it is. The melee weapons are just practically dog shit because, good lord, the melee weapon in this game is horrid. You have an Ursa knife, the Krieger blade, the Berger combat knife, and the Tropman knife. Visually, they look nice, they swing fast, but the damage is just... it's so bad. Yeah, that's it. What do I have to say about this pack? This pack is pretty good. It's solid. It does its job done. The LMGs are fantastic. Gage brought us 3 absolutely banger LMGs. We have an A-Kid with a retarded chin. We have the Heckler. I'm just going to call it the Heckler. The Heckler is a pretty good LMG. It gets the job done. Bigger bullets, more killing. RPK, high damage, high rate of fire, faster killing. The M249, American LMG. Good weapon, but American. That's my only issue. That's it. But if I had to give an overall rating to this pack, it would be a really good 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. The masks are actually pretty good, except for the melee weapons, which are completely forgettable at this point. And for this being the second weapon pack that introduces more LMGs to the game, is actually a really good introduction to the game. I can't exactly imagine the game just having one LMG, that being the KSP-58. There's nothing wrong with the KSP-58, but it's just like, it kind of gets boring eventually. So, the Gage Weapon pack number 2, introducing more LMGs, is a good fresh breath to breathe in. I don't know the better term, but here it is. Fuck you. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to say besides, this pack is overall pretty good, it gets the job done, and that's pretty much it. So now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go do some very questionable horde stuff that would leave me on the FBI list. So, without further ado, I wish you the best, and have a very good day. Adios. I was about to say a bad word, but hey, goodbye.